You know what? The Majin Brothers of Dragonball Daima, they're kinda cool. Yes, as predicted, episode 12 has given us not only the victory of Majin Duu against Tamagami number 1, but also the surprising perceptiveness of his brother, Majin Kuu. And in a way, it showed why, despite their goofy appearances, the two minions of Dr. Arinsu are a force to be reckoned with. Now, there is no better way of showing how strong they truly are without using other characters relative to them as a litmus test, as now we have some data to back it up. The empowered Tamagami number 2, for example, was a pretty formidable opponent in the last couple of episodes, and, of course, never chimed in and empowered him. Do keep a mental note, though, of that for the future episodes, because this does show that he wants to test everybody's limits, but from what we can tell, only to his full potential. And Vegeta needed to finally debut Super Saiyan 3 in order to defeat him. And to his credit, the Guardian of the Second Dragon Ball didn't just collapse from his attack. Yes, Vegeta's intention wasn't to kill him per se, but still keep in mind that Goku was able to toss both Innocent and Kid Buu in that form, and Gotenks was quite a challenge for Super Buu, and this was Tamagami number 2. Number 1 is supposedly even more powerful. Now, while we got to the point where Duu got a little bit distracted by the lack of chocolatey goodness in his system, he still wasn't badly damaged and was able to defeat the Guardian of the Dragon Ball in his empowered version to boot. Now, this would already be over if not for Majin Kuu being able to do the mental arithmetic. Majin Duu being strong, it wouldn't have mattered. Now, I do wonder if there was any trick to that as far as these challenges go. They are meant to make the fighter think outside the box. First one, making you forget about the cups. The second one, not really focusing on mathematics, more like logic. They might be gags, but so far, we've seen all of them. And at first glance, the third and second riddles are consistent with one another. So I do wonder if 683,775,029 has any meaning to it. For now, it seems the most brute force-ish out of all challenges, but something tells me we might see this again. After all, it'd be weird not to see any of our protagonists challenging Tamagami number 1. Anyway, this episode has given us the biggest proof going that Majin Kuu is eccentric, not dumb, and that Dr. Arinsu is quite lucky to have these two basically imprinted to her. While yes, Duu is the more chaotic and unpredictable of the two, he does seem to be quite content making his master happy, and the more loyal and easygoing Kuu is able to keep him in check. Like, imagine if Barbary controlled them. That would be chaos. And I do think that Arinsu, while still evil, is considerably less destructive than the wizard and his minions. If the two Majins had any will of rebelling, they could be kind of unstoppable if you think about it. Before the Dragon Team came, Tamagami number 1 was supposed to be the strongest entity in the demon realm. So powerful, in fact, that the Demon Kings were afraid to challenge him. So, yeah, despite Kuu's odd behavior, he also isn't as much of a pushover as people think he is, as he was able to hold his own against him for a good long while after assessing that he could not defeat the Tamagami. That's not a weakling, folks. That's smart. He saw no use in fighting just to lose, as he had proven that he has other strengths than just brute strength, and even that is not as low in his case as many people think. I'm quite convinced that Kuu will be able to beat Tamagami 2, and that took Super Saiyan 3 to take out, which at this point in the timeline is the pinnacle. Yes, we are before anything like Super Saiyan God or Super Saiyan 4-like forms, but nobody ever said that Majin Buu was a weakling, so do keep that in mind. And yeah, the two Majins are kind of weird and kooky, but they were created using a sample from the most eccentric form of Buu, which was of course Innocent Buu. Both Super and Kid Buu, they're much more menacing on first glance, whilst this one, well, you all remember how you first reacted when you saw him. The looks can be deceiving. It turns out the Dooku brothers are insanely fast learners, which shouldn't be all that surprising considering what a savant Buu was at the time. We extremely like the detail of Duu learning how to do as the fight went on, realizing his own power. This is not dissimilar to the Z fighters getting used to their marketable miniaturized child bodies, and I am willing to say this out loud. At this point in the story, if Duu and Kuu were fully aware of their capabilities, they would be an issue for the adult version of the characters. But I think one of their more charming personality traits is that they are not pure evil, that there's some complexity to them. Sure, Duu can throw a tantrum if he doesn't get chocolate, and they do work for an evil person. But in most circumstances, Kuu just wants companionship of his brother and mistress. Neither of them seem to have the same level of malicious intent as Kid Buu did. Duu likes food, and he is a bit of a show-off, a trait that both siblings share. But other than that, in a different scenario, they could just be good guys that have been redeemed or something. They literally give us Gamma 1 and 2 vibes, albeit with different personalities. And I do wonder what their fates are going to be in Daima. For now, Aritsu seems to be pleased with Duu and completely unaware of Kuu's involvement, or pretending to not know in order for him not to spill the beans before Tamagami number 1, so he doesn't disqualify them for cheating or something. But one could ask, is that all? Would she create one more to challenge the Z Fighters, or does something exist currently that the Majins could gain in terms of a boost? Upgrade them? Use them? As much as we like them, we do have to admit, they don't give off final boss energy, that FBE, and we are quite sure they are not it. There is more to it. The wielder of the evil third eye is probably going to be the big bad here. Daima was quite good, and is still good, at bouncing villains around, making us believe that certain characters are going to be the main villains at certain points, but then turn out not to be. But right now, well, it's really hard to guess who it's going to be. The two successors of the Buu line seem like a safe bet at the time, but for now, I'm not really that sure. They are lacking in a certain malicious sort of streak. And I would say that one of the small issues that we have with the show is that they haven't taken the opportunity to have Majin Buu tag along with them. So we'll probably never see him interact with his siblings. Yeah, even we aren't so fond of the character, yeah, but we do recognize the potential for shenanigans to be had that could occur if they interacted. Also, do keep note that the sample that Aritsu took comes from before the separation of good Buu and evil Buu, meaning that they technically do have a piece from a stronger variant of Fat Buu than the one which is still around, which is a whole other can of worms that I don't think is going to be addressed. I don't think Toriuma's thought that far ahead. I imagine these interacting with Uber at a later date. Now, of course, we have to remember that they are also in large part Cybermen, so they are not quite like Buu, but close enough. And judging by their power, Maba has done a really good job of bringing them close to the original in terms of strength. If I had to guess, I would say that Kuu is about the power of what good Buu is currently, while Duu might be closer to Innocent and Super Buu. Maybe not quite as strong, but very close. But how is this possible? Well, we don't know about everything she added to that cauldron, only the basics. And she somehow was able to create Kid Buu in the first place, so I would guess that some of the power came from certain ingredients. Maybe we'll get the flashback to his creation at some point. That's one of the 2 flashbacks that we would love to see. That, and Neva learning how to create the Dragon Balls, for obvious reasons. Still, we do think that Kuu and Duu are going to be a problem for the Z Fighters, and we will definitely see them butting heads with Goku and Kuu in the not too distant future. But the question is, what is going to be their next step? It does seem to us that in his desperation, Goma might try to forge an alliance with Aritsu. Curiously enough, Degisu is trying to calm the king down, hoping that his sister is merely protecting the Dragon Ball. He is slightly aware that he is deluding himself with that though, which only shows that he wants to have higher respect from the king and also believe in his sister that she's not trying to betray them all. It is rather curious, as despite being super ambitious, Degisu looks like an underachiever, almost like the weakling of the family. But still, I bet you that Goma would be interested in unleashing the Majin siblings on the Z Fighters, and he might be the one with the means to improve them. Remember, whilst we said that Goma is probably not going to be the main villain here, he still is a skilled magician. We were told by the show not to underestimate him, and he had yet to show his full skill set. There's also Maba to consider. We don't know if she didn't put any failsafe into her creations beforehand, remembering her original fluke. But then the next thought is, if she also has her own agenda, and that she might at some point get sick of following Aritsu's instructions. But then, what causes her to be loyal? Some sort of kinship? The fear of being exposed as the one who unleashed Buu on the world in the first place? We know that at least initially that wasn't the case, but this sort of passive blackmail that we've witnessed between them might be a reason for a future grudge to be had. But then the question that we have to ask ourselves is, Would Maba create something that would be completely under Arinsu's control outside of her own scope? That wouldn't be really smart, honestly. And I do think that underestimating Maba could be the final nail in Arinsu's coffin, because if there is anyone who can override the imprinting of her to her two minions, it would be the witch herself. Right now, the margins are quite hot property, and I do wonder what Navel will have to say about them should he actually clap eyes on them. Did he even sense that the first Dragon Ball had been taken? He does have that everything's going according to plan vibe about him. And as we've said in one of our previous discussions, that doesn't have to be an evil plan that he has, but it might still stir the pot quite a bit. But needless to say, Majin, Kuu and Duu are entertaining. We do feel that they have somewhat of a mixed reception amongst the fandom, but come on, not all antagonists need to have the boring, perfect cell-like face. Don't worry, we still love you, Moro. It's just that we wish you kept your Ram Man snout. Look, the Buu saga was quite zany in its concept, and as such, something created from Innocent Buu could not be just, another Super Buu. And we are quite convinced that these are not their final forms, though either if they are proven to be quite entertaining, I do feel, however, that Episode 12 will make many people change their opinions toward them, especially toward the likes of Kuu, as they are odd by design. They are meant to give us the what the heck is that sort of a thing, just like the original Buu did. We don't know if they will fuse, transform, or if they will get a third meaner sibling altogether, but I am quite glad that we were able to witness the birth of not one, but two Majin. So, is it wrong that, for now, we are enjoying them just a little bit more than the original Majin Buu? Well, like, we never said we hated him, but we never hid the fact that out of all the Dragon Ball villains, well, the pink blob was quite low on our list. An interesting concept, but kinda stretched thin and beaten to death with just how many different forms that he got, even more than Frieza. As of right now, these two feel fresh and their mutual dynamic is quite charming. So yeah, we are awaiting more antics from Kuu and Duu. We want to see them fight Goku, Vegeta and the others, and who knows, maybe, just maybe, they will even win their first encounter with them. Who knows what else Kuu can do? In the last episode, he has proven clearly that he is definitely the brains of the duo, and if we find out that he is actually decent at strategy, well, the Saiyans might have a genuine problem to face. And Duu is a beast as long as he has his candy. That's how his engine runs. So yeah, we do hope that after episode 12, at least some of you have warmed up to the characters and their silly antics, regardless of what bodies they are in. We certainly did, as it was kind of hard not to root for them in that episode. But hey, we want to see what you think down in the comments below, and let's keep this discussion going. And I will see you in the next video. Catch you later.